This is the new Peugeot flagship model, the Peugeot 508, Peugeot Sport Engineered. That's a little long name, so we say here Peugeot 508 SE for the top sporty model, the most powerful and, acceleration-wise, the fastest Peugeot from series production ever built. And here we're going to take a detailed look on the exterior, interior and the driving experience with an exclusive acceleration test here on the test track. Enjoy everything together with us in Full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go! In the front here we can see the 508 in general has a sporty design, strong front, the SE, and I just call it SE. I don't want to say always like Peugeot Sport Engineered, just too long, but you know what I mean. Here different front grille design right there, and the front grille leads over to the headlamp unit right here, daytime running light. That's actually quite normal. Full LED headlamps here in the higher trim. What's new? Here I got a different lower bumper, and then the kryptonite inserts here. They call this color kryptonite. It's a mix of green and yellow, and that's the scheme here for this sport model. 4.75 m, 15'6" or 187 inches is the length of this generation 508. This here, the sedan or the fastback or limousine, however you want to call it, it has a fastback opening. This one here, but also available as the SW, the estate version. We've seen it here close to the headquarters of Peugeot Motorsports, where they also presented, a prototype of the estate model already. Then 20-inch wheels, automatic comes with that. Of course, huge style. Will reduce the comfort a little bit, but also will give you a little bit more connection to the road. And also then again the kryptonite color scheme here with the brake calipers. Wheel arches also a little bit wider. You maybe have also seen here these additional spoiler flaps there. Very interesting. So some sporty nuances here and there. Sportier lower side bumper. The suspension is a little bit stiffer from the setup, so basically the same hardware but just a little stiffer setup and about 4 millimeters lower. So it will also have a little sportier ride than suspension wise. Of course, we'll find out more about it in driving very soon. And here in the side profile, once again, we have these 3 stripes. They also resemble a little bit the tail lamp design, and again with this unique color for the Peugeot SE models. By the way, this one being a prototype model, there might be some nuance changes for the very final model, but it's almost final. You can see here the tail lamp design, also again with these stripes, and then the lower part is really changed from the normal 508 here with a strong diffuser, real exhaust tip. No job for the Autogefühl fake exhaust released, and then the very sporty side spoilers here, and again with these kryptonite inserts. So this is a rather aggressive design definitely, and the big technology change is that the 508 plug-in hybrid so far, so this will only come here as the PHEV, so far only electric motor in the front. This one here The sport engineered model will also have an additional electric motor at the rear, an overall total system output of 360 horsepower. And where do these 360 horsepower come from? So the most powerful series production Peugeot yet. Here in front, combustion engine 1.6 liter, turbocharged, and then you have one electric motor in the front, plus additional electric motor in the rear. The same hardware is also used in the DS7 Crossback, for example, or in the Peugeot 3008, just that here the rear electric motor gets a different horsepower tune in the rear and also a different gear ratio in the rear, so it can also drive with the electric motor activated in the rear up to a speed of 190 kilometers an hour. Not only electric, so when it's running at 190 kilometers an hour still, the front ICE would also be active. The pure electric speed is not yet determined at the time we shoot this video. With the other models by PSA, it's usually about 135 kilometers max, but has yet to be seen what they decide for this vehicle. An acceleration figure to 100 kilometers an hour, 5.2 seconds. That's 3 seconds faster than the plug-in hybrid version here for the 508 with just the front ICE plus the front electric motor. So 3 seconds faster here with the additional rear electric motor. Battery is 13 kilowatt hours capacity, and you charge it AC 3.7 or optional 7.4 kilowatt right here. And this will then give you a pure electric range of up to 40 kilometers, realistically a little bit less. And yes, that's even a little bit less than just the front PHEV, I call it that way, because here with additional power on the rear, it's a little bit less efficient definitely, but I guess when you have the additional power, you can somewhat also live with that. Normal Peugeot car key. Then door closing sounds. Quite solid for a vehicle that has these emotional frameless doors. Of course, both for the sedan and the estate. Then inside, soft touch at the inside of the doors. Then you have this wooden insert, matte styling. So it's really beautiful and stylish. Then the kryptonite contrast color here for the contrast stitches. Again, the scheme of this. Peugeot Sport Engineered. That's the official naming. You can see also this new badge. Maybe we'll also count them for further models. And you can also see a special steering wheel here. Contrast stitch on the inside. The kryptonite color here with the 3 stripes. And the microfiber steering wheel was present in the concept vehicle that hasn't been carried over yet. I would have loved to see that. Maybe at a later stage. I hope they listen. Then you can see here once again the matte wood styling. Really high class, soft touch at the top part. And then the seats. We know them already from the seat form, these sport seats, from the normal hybrid. In normal hybrid, they are then with grey microfiber. Here, black microfiber. And again, the contrast stitching. And here, some fabric inserts. So that makes it even a little bit more breathable. And overall, I think a nice styling they found right there. With 1.86 or 6'1", you still fit in here very well, no problem. There is a panoramic roof built in here, so that leaves some headroom, more headroom when you leave it out. This would be one of the rare options here with the panoramic roof. And there is this option to, well, when you have picked that option, then you can either close this shade. It's also a bright shade. I like it that we have a bright ceiling here on the interior, and you can also open it completely for some more light inside. And you already see this Peugeot iCockpit here with the small steering wheel, and you can move it in and out, up and down. The only disadvantage is I can either see everything of these instruments and then have a little bit block here with my legs. That's the same, for all the Peugeot models. Or I can put it up and then it's blocking a little bit of my view here. It depends on your height, definitely. But they put this iCockpit here, this 12.3-inch digital instruments in that way up here. The reason is it's so highly placed, so you do not need a head-up display. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a nice argument. And you can see here also cut in deeply. Soon more deeds to the screens, of course, with the whole interior layout. Interior overview with this unique styling, soft touch dashboard, kryptonite contrast stitch, and again a white wood decor element here. Yeah, this matte wood is also just always beautiful. And still it works in a sporty car, so why not? Then 10-inch the 10-inch display right here and 12.3-inch instruments, always this setup here. And you still have somewhat hard buttons, first of all here with the volume knob. And then you have the hotkeys here for the navigation or infotainment system for car and so on. Zoom more details to that screen, how that works. You also have seat heating here and a capacitive button. Then here on the steering wheel, you see this has this unique styling here, like in a computer game. It also feels like it while driving. On the right side, you pick up the phone. Or here you can, for example, browse through radio titles. On the left side then for the volume and to control the digital instruments. Voice control, you can do something like...
To begin, say a command after the tone.
Increase temperature.
Temperature changed.
So, yeah, that worked, but a little bit complicated, so not a supernatural voice input, definitely. Then let's continue here in the middle console. First of all, what you can't see is, or that you can't see from this perspective, here down there I got either the inductive charging pad for the smartphone or then the cable connection, but a little bit hidden, and to plug and unplug it, it's not a very practical solution. On top of that here, drive mode selector. We go through the driving modes in the driving part. Then the shifting lever. This is quite important here, that we already mentioned that here. When you put it backwards, you're either in the D mode, or when you pull it backwards twice, in the B mode. B then is more recuperation, so there's more deceleration when you lift your foot off the throttle. In the D mode, you rather use the recuperation with controlling the brake pedal. So the B mode is, to me, I think a little bit better than actually, because in the moment you lift the throttle, then you already slow down a little bit. That's usually a safety thing, and at the end of the day, you maybe recuperate more energy. So I would recommend to do that, but the standard driving mode is always D, more for rolling. Then again, matte wood here, and some cubby hole, 12-volt power supply, adaptive cup holders, also with some illumination, and then there's this split armrest like this. Yeah, the left part always touches, the seat a little bit, and with some decent space. So, the cubby holes here are actually quite voluminous. So at least you do have hotkeys here, for example, to access vehicle controls, or then the CarPlay right here with the integration in the middle, or then back to the climate unit. That's actually quite okay, but still controlling that while driving is hard. When you're just someone that sets 22 degrees Celsius and auto AC, you probably won't care. But for me, for example, I like to change things around with the AC depending on my condition. Yeah, then I change the AC, the air condition. Yeah, it depends on really. Doing that while driving is not too easy, but at least you can fastly access this menu. Or here then the radio and so on. But having these hotkeys, at least it's okay. You also have a special menu here for the plug-in hybrid. And for example, you also can set to the, can plan, schedule your charging time. There's also this e-safe mode. For example, then further energy is stored for later driving, so then the combustion engine will actually charge the battery. It rather makes sense than for planned e-zones, for emission-free zones or something. But other than that, it's not really that useful. And you have some statistics, or can here take a look at how everything is going. You can set it to on, and then max, for example. that would charge it till the end at the end of the day, but then you consume more fuel after all. So what about the CarPlay here? Let's listen to some music. Yeah, why not this? And the vocal sound system here is actually quite nice, so I was satisfied with that before. So yeah, I think we could relax now a little bit. And GPS looks like this. It is usable, not the best one. As for the visualization, it could also be a little bit faster. And there's always this 3-finger trick where you hop back to this hidden main menu. Fancy. And the digital instruments right here. You have the visualization for what's happening, ICE or electric motors in the middle part. But you can also change the view, what you want to see. Like this, for example. It always takes a while until it's changed, but you can individualize that, so whatever you prefer. You can also have the GPS screen in the middle, for example. Then it looks like this. There's of course quite a good solution why you would have digital instruments to use the GPS in your line of sight, or like this, for example. So a couple of different solutions you can pick from. So let's get to the rear compartment, and you have the same styling here on the interior, also soft touch materials inside of the doors, and again the matte wood, leatherette, kryptonite contour stitching, and very interesting detail here next to these 3 stripes here. Once again, especially for the SE, here you also have this carbon fiber style insert, really nice, and then the same microfiber setup here for the rear seats. It's microfiber fabric leatherette mix. So this is once again a very nice styling element also for the rear seats. But the question is, how much legroom do I have? Of course, this is not special here for the sport engineered version. And there's a recess here at the back part of the seat. You can use it even better when you put the seat a little bit more up, and also with my feet here underneath. So when the seat in the lowest position, then it's somewhat a problem. It would be, move it a little bit more up, then I do fit better here with with the legs inside. But the back part here of the seat is also reasonably soft, but not too much legroom. Directly fits, and also headroom wise also directly fits with 1.86 or 6'1", and the Estate of course would continue with that roof line a little bit further. Also the bench is a little bit short definitely, but overall I think quite okay. Then the Isofix at the outside parts each. And in the middle part, you have these couples. They are not adaptive, however, and quite shallow. And then you have a ski edge here to reach over through the trunk. And the middle console here offers you 2 USB-A chargers. 490 to 1,550 liters is the official one for the sedan here, which has this fastback opening. So you have a good compromise between, a little bit lost in height if you compare it to the Estate, to the SW model, but overall very well accessible definitely with this fastback opening, but still have the nice design. Below here you have the charging cable, for example, stored, very nicely done. And when I put in my backpack inside here, it's just that here the Estate would have an advantage definitely, but you have to just push the backpack a little bit more inside, and you do not have to go around. You could also do it from here then to flip these seats here. And of course, either with the ski edge in the middle or then the 2/3, 1/3 split. Welcome to Thomas's Active Driving Lounge with the new Peugeot 508 SE here in this prototype vehicle, and we have set it to the sports mode, maximum performance. 5.2 seconds would be the acceleration figure to 1 kilometers or 62 miles an hour. And they told me actually you don't need any preload, any launch control, because there's an electric motor and the clutch is closed. When you're in the sport mode, there should be the direct power output, and also the ICE doesn't need any preload. So let's just test it. Let's hit the throttle and see on this test track straight. Let's go. So that's 200. Yeah, I think it was quite nice, and you just experienced the acceleration for the fastest ever produced series production Peugeot. Interesting. Here now some left and right. Suspension is stiffer, so we have more feedback from the road. It's not that it feels like a stiff sports car. Here now rough road, but still quite okay. So they found a rather comfortable setup here, I would say. Here now very rough road, but still not too uncomfortable, but definitely a little bit more feedback than the normal hybrid version. Nice on the handling. The steering is fun and unique. You have this iCockpit feeling with the small steering wheel. Therefore, it's really a lot of fun to put that car also in the slalom. However, the natural feedback is not the best. It rather feels like arcade computer game alike. So it doesn't give you like a very natural feedback like we know from some other brands, but definitely fun and unique. And yes, it is direct, even though when it's not natural. So what if we are already at speed? Let's do, for example, see here, like 70 kilometers and then like 130 or something. Let's see how that reacts. Pop, that's it. So even this so-called flexibility, quite nice. So actually nice performance, and the engine doesn't sound too bad, but you don't have like a roaring sound. That's not the aim of this vehicle. So definitely more power than we had before, more than enough power, and the difference about 3 seconds then to the normal 508 hybrid, plug-in hybrid, when you have just the front electric motor. Here also the rear electric motor, and the rear electric motor just here in another corner then. This reminds us a little bit of the Nürburgring Nordschleife, by the way. The 20-inch wheels also account for a sportier driving, definitely, and they also reduce the comfort, of course, a little bit, but I still think that the comfort is still given. So they didn't make a no compromise sports version. I think 20-inch wheels here with the stiffer suspension still somewhat works. So here once again a little bit more slalom at about 80 kilometers an hour, and have a good feeling of the car indeed. So you feel somewhat that it's still front wheel biased. So when I really hit the throttle, it's about like 60-40, 60% torque in the front, 40% at the rear, and the faster we go, the more it will switch to front wheel bias. However, the rear electric engine will still run at the speed of 190 kilometers an hour, and it will still work. Not alone, but together then with the whole drivetrain unit, and that's also special with this SE version here. Noise insulation, by the way, here 160 kilometers an hour, still good. So I think noise insulation wise, it's really nice. Also when you do lane change here at higher speeds, still good and stable. And once again, this test track here is quite rough, and considering the time is old and rough, the car is still doing well, and they have a good control of the car, definitely. Let's take it a little bit faster here. Yeah, the acceleration out of the corner here, look at that. That's really good. And yeah, you still feel some front wheel bias, definitely. So some understeering is happening, but definitely if you compare it to the other version, which is front wheel drive only, you still feel it. You have some push from the rear that gives you some more, agility when going out of the corner. But still, it reminds you, still a front wheel driven car, so you do still have that front wheel bias. But yeah, definitely a very sporty Peugeot. Yes, the smaller 308, for example, GTI, this one feels sporty as for the agility, left and right and so on. This one here, definitely the king of going straight, having the power on the motorway. Yet again, having the plug-in hybrid drivetrain where you can save some tax money, for example, and also, still able to drive it in a more economic way if you don't throw it out all the time. This would be the good thing, that when you're on the motorway like this here, then you can have some decent acceleration at any time for overtaking maneuvers and so on. But yet again, when you rather take it slowly and drive it more efficient, that's also possible. So it won't be that much less efficient than just the front electric motor. Yes, of course, when you have another motor, This will go on efficiency a little bit, so the pure electric driving range is 40 instead of 50 kilometers official. You do lose some, but you still will be able to drive it more or less economic. And now to some legal road driving with the 508 SE. So in a normal hybrid mode, the car just decides by itself what it's supposed to do, when to activate the combustion engine, when just the electric motor or motors are running, and so on. And usually you would leave it in that mode because it is in most situations also the most efficient one. For example, when you need more power or when you drive fast on the motorway, then the combustion engine will run. When you drive slowly in a city or roll, for example, or just recuperate, then the electric motors are running, and this will then give you this effect. We've been testing this this hardware before without the higher horsepower tune in the rear, and when you have the battery depleted, then you can still score some like 7 liters or more kilometers as consumption. That's quite normal then for this size, for the segment size here. So when the battery is depleted, you have maybe like a little advantage because you can still do regenerative braking, but just a little advantage. More advantage, of course, when you plug in the vehicle, recharge it, then you can also really play with this electric moments, especially when we're driving a little bit slower. So there's also the comfort mode, which is not too different from the hybrid mode. There's the all-electric mode, and this one really then focuses on the electric driving. Because the engine is very silent, you hardly ever realize which mode you are in just automatically. And you can also just accelerate pure electric. You have set here front and the rear, and there is a decent acceleration also from the pure electric mode. Just when you reach a certain threshold in the throttle feel, then the combustion engine also hops on. So it's when you, for example, do like this pin down, with the throttle. And the reason for that is safety. Manufacturers usually say, for example, you're in the all-electric mode, and then you suddenly realize, you do want to have like a specifically harsh acceleration, for example, to get on the motorway. Then you might need additional power from the combustion engine. So that's the logic behind it. Of course, here traffic situations in the city, that's always cool when you are in the all-electric mode, or maybe also when at some point there are electric only emission zones, for example, or like no emission zones, then it's definitely also very helpful to have this mode. And the silent electric driving is just so much more pleasant. It also fits with the vehicle. It's a more subtle experience. That's definitely very cool. So here in road driving, you feel the difference of the 20-inch wheels with a stiffer suspension a little bit more in comparison to the normal hybrid. You do feel it, you do lose comfort. Yes, you have to be sure about that. Still, as I said, also on the test track, it's somewhat okay. Here, by the way, in the electric mode, when combustion engine goes on, and I really feel like there's a very notable threshold in the acceleration pedal. So at any time, it's really possible to feel that if you want to stick in this electric mode. You can also go to the sports mode once again, then you have most power available, or the 4WD mode, so the all-wheel drive mode. And that means there's a fixed torque distribution. It's 53% in the front, 47% in the rear. So this is then for like low grip situations in the winter or so, snow and ice and so on. Then you would go to this mode that you have more torque at the rear axle and you just can bring more grip to the ground. The sports mode would be too spontaneous for that. And you can also see in this visualization there in the front when the engine is on or off. Here, for example, in the electric mode, then this yellow area is not active. That would be the combustion engine now driving just electric. When I go back to the sports mode, for example, then the car is giving most power. Here again, this yellow combustion engine symbol is going on. So not sure if you really want to pay attention to that all the time when you're driving, but you know, at some point maybe you do want to do that. So at least it's in your line of sight, this iCockpit here without the head-up display, because everything is put up so high. But then again, it is somewhat, you know, sometimes blocking my view just a little bit. You know, when I put the steering wheel too low, it hits my knees. Like this, it blocks the lower part of the instruments. I can still live with that. Yeah, it's no problem. So most fun is not necessarily the sports mode, but more the pure electric mode to me, because it gives you more serenity while driving, just lets you drive calmer. At the same time, as I said, you also have a nice electric acceleration. So having driven this very vehicle just with the electric motor in the front recently, is it a completely different vehicle? No. You'll also be just fine with the less expensive version than just with front-wheel drive. But of course, already here the electric acceleration is just so much more spontaneous, so you can have more fun, more acceleration fun when driving all electric, definitely. That's cool. And then of course this, you know, combined power in the sports mode, this one is, yeah, it's a huge difference than 3 seconds difference in the acceleration figure. So definitely more performant. And as I said, suspension wise from the setting plus the bigger wheels, this also makes the car sportier. So yeah, should you go then for this one? I think it's really also a matter of price, and then of course your focus. Do you want more comfort or want more sportiness? I think again, steering setup wise, they could have done maybe a little bit more with the SE. But maybe, you know, since this one is a prototype vehicle, they can still fix something also. I think it could be a little bit sport. In the sport mode, by the way, the steering is also a little bit different, you know, gives you a little bit more resistance and so on. But here, yeah, once again, electric mode, really nice acceleration we have there. And you also feel this rather even acceleration, where just in the normal plug-in hybrid of the 508, you're just getting pulled from the front, and here you feel that you're getting pulled from the front and pushed from the rear at the very same time. That's just a better feeling, you know, when driving. Yeah, showing you that in the track part, that we do still have somewhat understeering, but that's actually, you know, totally fine. As for the overview in this vehicle, it is a design focus, no matter if sedan or the estate, so they are definitely vehicles with a better overview. Small looking through the window in the rear. With the B-pillar, also quite critical, so it's definitely always good to have this blind spot monitor, which is also equipped with this vehicle. One thing also with the SE version, that, you know, almost everything will be included. You know, so there's like a full trim, full spec car. Interesting, this runabout where let's just do that, run over the top. Yeah, that's fun, right? And here the thing is, when you are in the electric mode, also just driving the city is actually fun, and you get a little bit calmer. Well, even here again, regenerative braking when you're on the brakes. So first the recuperation is being used, and if you need more braking power, then the real brakes are being applied. So that's definitely, you know, that's how it basically works. Once again, I think a very interesting new ride here with the 508 SE. Tell us, you think it's good that they went in this performance engineering direction, also then especially with the plug-in hybrid? Of course they do that because they would, I think, you know, at least when you think about the current regulations, they would never go anymore for a pure combustion engine high performance model, because it just doesn't make sense in the whole fleet consumption. You know, they need to bring the CO2 levels down, and they can easily do that then with the PHEV version here. They expect about 5% share in the whole 508 range than for this one. So now we do another electric acceleration, like from 40 to 70 we can do. Speed didn't catch up yet. Yeah, that's really a lot of fun, really nice. So I would try to rather drive it all electric all day, Of course, at some point the battery will be depleted. Just have to live with that, definitely. Then for most commuting ways, this will still be suitable because the car will start in the all-electric mode first. Then you can switch the different driving modes depending on which one you prefer. As I said, when you can recharge frequently, then just take the all-electric mode and just recharge it overnight and so on. Maybe you can do it in your own household or at work. Other than that, if you take a longer trip, and also with motorway parts and so on, then rather switch it to the hybrid mode, and then this is in this case then more efficient. So these are our impressions here for today. Really good to have this exclusive test ride. Hope you enjoyed it. And now to our conclusion for today with the Peugeot 508 SE. So it will be available here as a sedan, but also as the estate version, as the SW. And we can see the exterior styling. It was already sporty in the normal 508, both for sedan and the estate. But here in the SE trim, I mean, it fits very well to the car, you know. It already looked sporty, now even sportier with these accentuations and the interesting kryptonite color design scheme. Why not? It's definitely something different. So design-wise on the exterior, I think very well done. Fits also with these 20-inch wheels. Interior-wise, same counts for that. It already had a unique styling. Here, you know, some changes here and there. So it's not that it would be a completely different vehicle, just some nuances. Acceleration-wise, there's a huge difference when the car is suddenly 3 seconds faster in the acceleration. Of course, just with the front engine before. However, in the Corporation, you might remember that from the 3008 or from the DS7, they had the technology with the additional rear motor, with the additional rear electric motor, so they just, you know, could just take it over here for the 508. And this will indeed make a huge difference in the acceleration. Driving performance then is definitely a little bit sportier with the 20-inch wheels and also the stiffer suspension setup. Again, it does not feel like a completely different vehicle because they still kept a compromise between comfort and sportiness. So this will be rather a more comfortable, sporty vehicle. And that's also the, you know, this market niche where it's also not only due to the hybrid drivetrain, it's a little bit different than a 343 or a M340i or then an Audi S4 and so on. So really a different approach, and also the thought behind, okay, sometimes you want to maybe overtake on the motorway and a little bit faster, have this great punch, but also at the same time use it as for tax benefits with the plug-in hybrid, or then also drive in a more economical way in everyday driving life, or maybe use the just pure electric driving. And that was also a lot of fun. Of course, the sport mode gave you the most power, but then again, when you're driving in the just pure electric mode, you have pulling from the front, pushing from the rear, and the all-electric driving really suits the vehicle very well. Of course, pure electric range is not as high as, you know, with a bigger battery or something, but for a plug-in hybrid vehicle, this is, so to speak, the standard value what they put in as for the battery and as for the electric range. So a very interesting approach here. Peugeot going sportier, the strongest Peugeot from series production so far. Of course, we want to know, what do you think about this vehicle? Again, I found the car very interesting before. It has a very unique market position, especially also with this design. However, then here also with the SE trim, it will get quite expensive. And of course, you have to think about it, you know, what else you could get for that price. But definitely a new choice on the market. So join us in the comments, see you in the discussion there, or tune in to the normal 508 review. We have a couple of these, or maybe to the competitor vehicles. We have the reviews all linked for you. See you there.